Oh, crap. I can't log into X on this phone.
You're gonna do it from this phone on X?
Well, I have to use this phone for the. Alrighty. So. Oh. Alrighty. So. We're just going to get all dialed in here. Also, I didn't realize this is going to shake as much as it does. Okay, hold on. We gotta, as per usual, fix a few things. Okay, that I think is much better. Let's do one more. Okay, there we go. All right, now, sorry, while we're waiting, I'm trying to get X running. Okay, shit, well.
I can do it on here. I can log into X.
No, you can't.
Oh.
You're in?
I can be.
No. All right, sorry, just trying to get live on X as well. I don't know if this is going to work. We've never done both before. So it's just a moment, and we'll get after it. Yeah, I don't think so. All right, we're gonna get after it.
First thing on bleach.
So let's go. Show you how this is done. Stage one. Fucking. So what we've done is we've sterilized the hood. I've got UV lamps, UV lamp and an LED lamp, LED strip, UV LED strip. So we've surface sterilized our table and our tools, and we've got our glass bead sterilizer right over here. So what we're going to do now is get after it, get started. So they make autoclave bags that you can put your stuff into, but I don't really see the need to use that when tinfoil is cheap and, in my opinion, just as, if not more, effective and versatile. And then, you know, we're not getting microplastics in our stuff. I don't know if that's really a concern with this, but hey, you never know. So this is too full, actually, but this is chlorine, 5,000 ppm of chlorine. So if you were in any of the other videos, that's kind of the end-all, be-all, clean, kill, sterilize material. So if you're doing tissue culture and using alcohol, you're fucking up. So use chlorine, and then also use the glass bead sterilizer. Alcohol and flame sterilization will not kill viroids, will not prevent viroids, or anything like that. So we're gonna get these tools. Chillness, our cutting tools, and also our other tools will go periodically in chlorine and then straight into the glass bead sterilizer, and that makes sure we've got sterile, clean instruments that are then touching our plants. So that's how that part works. Pretty straightforward. And then we got a bottle of ISO. So we always want to keep our hands sterile. Anything that goes into the hood, we want to be sterile because we've got sterile airflow right now. So I have a 4-foot span. You know, basically I don't know how tall the hood is. It's like 18 inches, 20 inches. It's not giant, but I've got, you know, a wall of sterile air that I can work in, and that's kind of my sterile zone. So right now, we're just waiting on my assistant to hand me some explants that have been washed for 5 minutes in. So just like our previous video where we did sterilizing like clones, that technique is adopted from this technique, which is sterilizing explants. So we do the same iodine and soap wash for 10 minutes, and then I wash 5 minutes at 5,000 ppm of chlorine. So depending on your bleach, it's usually 900 milliliters of water to 100 milliliters of bleach. And that will get us our 5,000 ppm of chlorine. We're at about, I think the bleach we use is like 4.9% or something like that, which most household bleach is going to be in that zone. So as soon as our assistant gets back here with our explants, we'll get to work. So what we're going to do is rinse our explants 3 times with, you can use distilled water, but I just use tap water. I haven't really noticed any issue. So we're going to do that. And then we're going to wash them. We'll wash them 3 times with tap water or RO. In this case, we're using tap water. We've removed all the bleach, and then we're going to clean them up. So anything that was directly contacting the bleach can kind of get like a little burnt, especially like the tips or like the base of the stem might start to like absorb a little bit of the bleach. So we'll chop that out, and then here I need a bottle of water and a green wrapped bottle from underneath. Grab both of those. The one with the green tape and just a regular water. Cool. So here's our explants that we've got, and as soon as I start pulling them out, you'll see. And then I need one of these containers. Well, actually, I'll just use one of these because it's here. Okay, cool. So let's get after it. So we're going to clean all of our stuff. So step 1, I'm going to get rid of the bleach. So I like to do all of this in the same container. Okay, so I'll bring in here, this is our sterile water. So I'll put this tinfoil, we use the autoclave paper, which will show you if the material has been autoclaved correctly. Because if there's like a problem with your autoclave, it won't make these lines. It just looks like normal Scotch paper when you start. And you try not to, I don't know who tightened the lid on this. Maybe it was me. There we go. Whew, man. About to have to get one of those, you know, one of the like things with the spring, you know, for hand strength. And hold baby hands. It's too bad. Okay, so first wash. And if you have an orbital shaker, you could use an orbital shaker. But in this case, I'm just going to do it like this. And I've got my little container over here. So this is just where I'm going to pour all of this stuff. And then I have a drain underneath me. So at the very end, we just empty this and then it goes down the drain. Helpful to have a drain or a bucket or something handy because you will go through a decent amount of water to rinse your explants. I like using these little pop tops because you can fit plenty in there. I like to do at least 2 containers per variety when I'm trying to do bulk. So today we're going to do 10 different varieties, 2 containers each. So 20 containers, and then I want to get at least 5 really solid explants in each vessel. 5 to 7, kind of depending on how they look and all that good stuff. Okay. All right, that's 2 rinses. And then we'll do our 3rd rinse. So always being mindful to make sure that we're not contaminating these in the process of cleaning them, because if you do that, well, you've just wasted, at the very least, 15 minutes of washing plus another 5 to do this, so you're 25 minutes down the hole. And then when you go to plug these plants, you're going to notice real fast, you know, that there's an issue. So cool. Now we get going. So just gonna like clean our hands again. We want to make sure our hands are really clean. We've got our forceps that have been sitting in our glass bead sterilizer. So these are now nice and sterile. Scissors go into the sterilizer. Here's a fun trick I like to do. I do a plate and then a paper towel. And I do 10 sequentially. So this plate acts as my keeping the surface underneath it clean and sterile. So we just do this. Now we've got a perfectly sterile surface that will wick excess moisture off the plants as we work on them. And then we'll throw the paper towel away. We can reuse the plates because we just re-autoclave the plates again. So our consumable here is just paper towels. Okay, so now we get after it. So I like to take just you can see all the spots where the chlorine, the bleach kind of toasted the plant cells. So this is all got to be removed. Otherwise it'll die. So for this demo, we're just going to do some nodal cultures because these are the easiest ones for pretty much everybody to do. So we're going to take the healthiest tippy tops of each one of these plants. You can definitely use a razor blade for this process, but these little scissors are the bomb. So much faster. Like, doesn't even compare speed-wise. Which, speed isn't always... Well, shouldn't say. Speed is never really the name of the game here. Quality is the name of the game, but I think it was Dora the Explorer who said, "Why not both?" Did she ever say that? Was that just a meme? I have no idea. I never watched that show. So we try to keep things somewhat organized, where we've got like our quote unquote work surface here-ish. And then we've got our plants there, and then we've got our explants up here. And if you want to be really fancy, you'll orient all of your explants in the same direction, because we're going to pick them up from this direction and we're going to stick them in a container where I'll switch hands, use dominant hand to pick those up and put them in a vessel. And that just helps to lessen the amount of moving around that you got to do. So really, like for these, the smaller, the better, because you'll get less contamination. Well, probably you'll get less contamination with smaller plants, but smaller plants are harder to keep alive. So there's like all things in life, there is a give and a take. So I like to just do these really healthy tops, because the other thing we're going to do is quickly propagate from these. This stage is really just getting them in vitro. But let's say you want to do something like this. So this is easy too. You just go like so, just remove all the bleached parts, and then you've got your node, and that'll grow pretty well. You know, no major issues, right? Just like that, and then there's your kind of bleached part. Take that off, and then that will go. One thing that's really pretty common with TC is endophytes, which are little microorganisms that live inside the vascular tissue of your plant, right? Just kind of like how people have a microbiome, right, in your stomach. Plants have not exactly the same, but right, they also have a microbiome of materials inside, and those will propagate in in culture. So the youngest, healthiest tissue has the least / hopefully none of those things, and that's what we're trying to do. So PD5, it's easy. They have enough room, and so we're making sure we're in the hood, sterile. Boom. Tokers. Oh yeah, Ben, you will see all of those little endophytes come out in culture. I've gotten a lot of cuts from a lot of people, and they're like, "Oh, these cuts are so clean, bro! Like, blah 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 blah. I've never had a problem. They're so healthy." And then you put them in culture, and you get all sorts of crazy stuff coming out of the bottoms of them, and you know, that's pretty indicative. Like, yeah, they're clean when you grow them as like normal plants, you know, but just because they're clean doesn't mean you don't have endophytes. All right, just for fun, we'll do one of these. I don't normally do these because I like to use the thinnest, smallest part of the plant, but we'll check back and we'll see. If there's any of these are going to be contaminated, it's most likely that one.
type?
Type C.
Type C.
Yeah. Okay, so tokers, yeah, rinse them in soap, iodine. Yeah, pretty much. That is pretty much the process. Okay, so just real quick. All right, so check this part out. This is a cool part. So we just like roll this up, okay, and this is now compost. And then this protects our work surface. So then we'll do clean this guy. Just get these tools out. And then we'll pull that plate off, and we've got a perfectly sterile work surface yet again, because we don't want to accidentally contaminate anything. So we're just barely cracking this, so we don't have any explants exposed to the outside of this container, because the inside is sterile. Because we didn't autoclave the container, but we did rinse it with bleach. Right, this water has been autoclaved. Of course, you have to wait for it to cool down. So this water is sterile, and as long as we cap and uncap it in front of the flow, it will stay sterile throughout this entire process. Yeah, Ben makes a good point. There's some really wild stuff that you'll see growing in vitro. Some things you can recognize. A lot of things I don't, because I'm not like a super experienced microbiologist. Just a guy who read a bunch of white papers and learned how to do this over the years. But there's some wild growth that you'll see. You can take that.
Is it clear too?
Yeah. Boom, and then, because they get like close up to the lid, so I like to tamp it down, and that way none of them get too close to the top of the lid. Because our hands during this process could potentially get contaminated. I mean, the whole thing is just being really irritatingly thorough about avoiding contamination. Because if it can be contaminated, it will, and all it takes is one spore from something to contaminate. But once you have this sort of workflow down, the major issue is no longer external contamination, it's internal. So it's not like you had a flow hood issue or you accidentally contaminated the plants or the media. Because if you can contaminate the plants, you'll see it growing on the plant somewhere. If you contaminate the media, same thing. You'll see like spotting on the media itself. But if you've got like an endophyte issue, you'll see it coming out of the base of the stem, which I don't know if I have any. I got rid of a bunch of contaminated ones that I had. I think I have. Oh no, I think I threw those. I had some in the fridge that I kept, but yeah. Well, I don't have any. Yeah, it's never a bad thing when you can't find any cultures that are contaminated with endophytes. That's always nice. Oh, okay. Here we go. So here's some. So you can see, like this one, for example, you see the growth coming out from like inside the stem, right? Clearly you see the source of the contamination. This one here has a bunch of growth on the plant itself, so this could have been a surface sterilization issue. But like this sort of like volcano-y look is very indicative of endophyte. And like, if you're just growing plants for your normal day-to-day cultivation, an endophyte isn't a big deal. Closed captions, I don't know. I think we have to finish the live and then it will do closed caption. I'm not sure it works on the live, but I don't know. I'm not good at any of this. I am learning a lot, trying to do all these YouTube lives and trying to figure everything out, and having YouTube. I'll schedule a live and it all seems fine, and then it's like, oh no, you have to do it in portrait mode. Like nobody wants portrait mode for a video they're going to watch, especially like on their computer, you know, and something that's a 2x4, you know, place that we're doing a task, like the portrait mode is so dumb. So I don't know why it does that, but I don't know why a lot of things. But if anybody has an answer to that, I mean, Tokers apparently has a lot of answers, all the same ones, but you know, hey, so contributing is contributing. So another thing you might hear in TC is like if it's not Meristem culture, it's not real TC, and I don't disagree with that. Meristem culture has a lot of benefits beyond, you know, what this kind of nodal culture does. I mean, really, what we're doing is sterile micro cloning, right? We're not resetting the genetic clock. This will not remediate pathogens, you know, kind of as evidenced by some of the endophyte growth that I just showed you, right? That was stuff that was in the plant. So if you have a viroid, like a hop latent viroid, this is not going to stop that. But this is a good way to quickly, I mean, this is for the demo, and then this is also a good way just to get things introduced into culture, which then you can take sterile cultures and do Meristem from there. Like personally, I find that a little bit easier because this is far and away the most annoying, most labor intensive, most stressful part of the entire process, is getting them in vitro and making sure that they're sterile. Once they're in, it's far easier to work with. Like in that last video we did, you just pull a vessel off the shelf and you can get it in your hood and start working. You don't have to clean it and sterilize it again. So that makes doing other processes like Meristem culture just that much easier. And then there's a few tricks that I like to do for pathogen remediation, which involve sort of getting them in vitro and then changing up the temperature to help slow or speed up certain amounts of growth. And that can kind of help ensure that, well, not ensure, but it can help make sure that the plant material that we're getting has a lower chance of having the viroid. Because that's all we're trying to do. Like you're not curing it. We're just trying to grab a little bit of the plant that doesn't have the viroid, is not infected, and then we can go from there. So we'll take the clean tissue and then we'll regrow the whole thing without, you know, hopefully no viral load. And then of course you got to test it afterwards. You want to test multiple because hop latent is tricky, and depending on the lab that you're using, they might not actually be able to have the resolution to test to a degree to find the viroid, because below limit of detection test does not mean that there is no viroid. It just means that it was below the limit of detection. So that's a BLD is by no means a clean bill of health. You know, it's just to the best of their computer's ability, it doesn't have it. But you know, if you're, I can only see 5 grains of salt, right? And you're like, well, there's 1 grain right there, and it's like, well, I can't see that because it's not 5. I can't see it. Like, it doesn't mean there's no salt, right? Or like the serving sizes of stuff, right? Or the, you know, what was it? I heard some story about a guy who was overweight and was trying to lose weight and was eating Tic Tacs because they have no calories and like no sugar or whatever. And He kept gaining weight, and he went to his doctor, and the doctor's like, man, like, what is going on? He's like, I don't know, I'm dieting, I'm doing this, I'm doing that, and then at one point he like pulls out the box of Tic Tacs and like starts eating a few, and the doctor's like, wait, what are you doing? And he's like, what? It's just Tic Tacs. There's no calories. And he's like, no, that's not how that works. No calories per serving because it's like under a certain size. He's like, it's just full of sugar. You've just been eating sugar nonstop for God knows how long. Like, no wonder you're not fucking losing weight. So, kind of like one of those things, right? Where still could be there, and that could be your demise. Bear grows in the house. What up, Bear? So let's see. OG, my laptop's too far away. I can't see your name, but OG, my wristband, whatever. TC is sterile propagation. So the whole point of this is to take plants from inside, outside, greenhouse, whatever, clean them up. So at the very least, you're sterilizing the exterior of the plant, hopefully to some degree the interior, and growing them in a nutrient-rich environment, nutrient-rich media, and killing off, because the bleach process that we use to sterilize kills insects, kills like PM and mold and stuff like that. And so you're able to take very clean plants and bring them out of TC and kind of reset the any mold or bug issues that you may have had. And then the other thing you can do with TC is do Meristem culture and micropropagation. So that's effectively where we're going to dig down all the way to the Meristem, which is this little tiny cluster of cells that's located inside of the node. So like the very tip of your plant or the very tip of a branch. Kind of like, let's see, what's a good, like artichoke. Like if you go to the heart of the artichoke, that's, now that I'm saying that, I'm not sure if that is a meristem. It seems like it would be. But you're peeling back the artichoke to get to the heart. So same way we're doing that to get to the meristem, just kind of like stem cells, and we're regrowing the plant from those cells. And what that allows us to do is, if you do it right, you'll remediate any pathogens because that's the freshest, youngest, healthiest growth on the plant. It grows faster than like a virus can spread. So you're able to take that and regrow the entire plant. And it's basically like regrowing the plant from the very first time it was ever grown. So if you were to compare it to a human, it's kind of like cloning a human from scratch. So if you, let's say, had a broken arm and like a bunch of tattoos and piercings and, like PTSD or, whatever ailments you might have like had gotten throughout your life, right, due to a sickness, or maybe you have like ALS or like God knows what. With TC, you're regrowing your entire person. So that clone would not have broken its arm, on a bike when it was 9 and not gotten those tattoos and, so any of those afflictions that you may or may not have gotten throughout your life, you won't have anymore. But the genetics stay the same, right? The code stays the same. So we're able to turn back the clock on plants. Yeah, no, pretty much exactly like the reptile from Spider-Man, like going all the way back. Yes, also Ben makes a very good note. Meristem is not yet connected to the vascular system. So just like, people, right? You've got your blood or your vein network that moves blood and everything through your body. Plants have the xylem and the phloem that move nutrients and water throughout the system. And if there's contamination, fungal, viral, pathogen, whatever, that will use that circulatory system to move around. So you're going to take cells that have not ever been connected to that system. Again, and that's just fresh and clean untainted. Sometimes these get stuck to the container. And if at any point you like touched one and it touched the side of a container or something, and you're like, man, I don't know, that one might be contaminated, throw it away. Like, throw it away. If you think for a second that it could have maybe touched the edge of something and maybe there's a little bit, just toss it. There's zero benefit to keeping it on hand. You know, you spend this much time and energy to make sure that they're clean. Make a bunch. And like, if you have to throw this whole batch away because you fucked up, like, you have to throw the whole batch away. It's just not worth your time. Yeah, if there's a possibility, you throw it away. So that's why I kind of incessantly, you know, I've got the ISO, and I'm just constantly spraying my hands. You know, I'm not touching my phone. I'm not like grabbing a water bottle. I'm working in the hood. I'm staying clean in the hood. And then, you know, luckily I've got my assistant who can hand me things, because doing this process by yourself is tedious for a number of reasons. You know, that's why you want to do all your preparation first, right? You want to make sure you have all your media made and ready to go. And, you know, you've probably done all of your iodine and soap washes ahead of time. So you're not doing that because it takes, you know, 5 to 10 minutes for me to chop all these up and get them ready to go into vessels. And then meanwhile, you know, my assistant is getting is prepping the next round and getting those in their chlorine wash and then handing that to me. So you can imagine it takes quite a bit more time when you're going solo, like probably 5 times as much time to do it by yourself than with a friend. Or if you're really good at, you know, preparing things. Like, technically, if you wanted to, you could do all of the vessels, wash them in bleach, like, all at the same time, or like back to back to back to back to back, and just have a ton sitting in sterile water ready to go. And then you could just grab vessels and do this process one after the other. But like by yourself, that's probably the most effective way to do this. Otherwise, having someone to do that, because, like, I mean, you know, they don't come off the plant like this, right? Like, these have obviously been prepared ahead of time at kind of the sizes that I like to work with. And then you'll get, as you do it, you'll get a better idea of, you know, what you like, what works better in your environment, how big, and then you can kind of go from there. Let's see. Yeah, so I've filmed the how to make media video, but I have not yet edited it. So yes, I will be posting the how to make media video and then getting it up on YouTube. And then the sprouting seeds bit of it it's kind of a multi-part thing, because sprouting seeds in vitro, you're going to want to, well, you can just sprout seeds in vitro. Like, you just soak them, you sterilize them. It's the same process, right? We're doing a surface sterilization with bleach, and then we're going to be putting our seeds in the containers instead of these explants. But there's also a thing where you can crack the seeds open and do a why am I completely forgetting the name of it at this moment? Embryo rescue. So you can, like, literally crack the seeds open and pull the embryos out and put the embryos in vitro and grow those in gel. So I'll be doing a video of that as well. I will do a live of that probably, and that'll be cool because that'll be under the microscope. It's a little bit easier to do and pay attention under the scope. And then you might notice some of these vessels have the little micropore stickers for airflow, some don't. I'm trying to decide which I like better. It depends. Some plants dry out a little quickly, especially if there's very few plants in these containers. They dry out too quick, and they don't like that. But the big problem with wet plants that are in a sealed environment is like ethylene production is your #1 enemy, and also if they're fully like super hydrated in these containers, they can get this thing called hyperhydracity, which I think I have. Yeah, here's an example of hyperhydracity, so you can kind of see that it's well, kind of hard to see on screen, but just you can tell the whole plant is just like way too full of water, and it's like super soft and see, this one even has a lid on it, but I think that's just due to the volume of plants that are in the vessel, because the plants do consume the gel. You know, they transpire just like anything else. So things to note. You know, I used to do all my TC in these pop top vessels, but the problem with those is it's really impossible to get any decent amount of airflow in or around those containers, and then you're very limited on height. And I had these bigger ones, but the deli cups are the way to go. Like bar none. It is it's a deli cup world. Yeah, I mean, this is it. Like, this is, oh, I lost one. I lost two. So this one, you can see it's too close to the edge. So sorry, but I ain't got time for that. Very good chance that one is contaminated, and if so, I don't have time. Okay, so chat is live. Anyone is very welcome to hop in, ask questions, comments, talk shit. I don't know. You know, the time is ours. Try to keep it interesting, so I'm not just talking to myself and narrating what I'm doing. What are you doing here? Oh man, that's yeah, tissue culture. We're introducing TC explants into media. So we've got our, so root will form it. No, it will not. I personally really do not like rooting in vitro. Actually, I said they do not, and that is a lie, because they totally do root. I don't like it when they root, but they will. So here's one that you can see has rooted quite substantially. And now they're smashing into the top. So I'm going to have to go and cut those off and redo them. But yeah, we do contract TC work. So if you've got cultivars that you need cleaned up or long-term storage, we offer all of those. We do consulting as well. So there's a bunch of different options. My glove tour. So we're going to go sans gloves. You don't need to use gloves. Yeah, just diversified. Just send us an email, info@umamiseedcompany.com, or if you go on our website, we've got a like TC consulting form, or just any just send us an email from the website, or just email us direct, and just mention your name and say like YouTube, and we'll know what's what. Umami is a small family business, so we will know who you are and what you need. And then I'm assuming you're located in the US, but if you're not, I also have a facility coming online in Austria. So anyone in Europe that also needs TC services and stuff like that, we are, we don't call ourselves Umami worldwide for nothing. So we have well, we're on 6 continents, so pretty, that's not true, 5. I'm in negotiations on the 6th. Africa is tricky, but not to worry. We'll be there soon. Yeah, I do have a lot of experience with plant patents. I have 6 or 7. I have 6. So very familiar with plant patents. That's a whole thing, but very familiar with the entire process. Is there any stock going from gel to soil? So I don't use soil, but I assume you just mean, like a peat or a cocoa or something. And the answer to that is yes. So what we do is go straight from culture. So for example, we take something like this. I need to make sure I don't contaminate these while I'm showing this off. So you'd see these, where we'll pull these out, and then you could, I basically just use rooting gel, and you can plug them in a peat plug, a root riot. So here's one that's rooting, no roots yet. Yeah, neither of these have roots just yet, but just right into a plug in these cool little tiny 12 banger containers, and I just treat them like clones. Nothing to it. If you want to get fancy, you can root them in vitro and then pull them out. You have to clean the gel off of the roots, because the gel is primarily sugar, and if you put sugar gel into soil with the plant, with the roots, like some pathogen or fungi is just going to immediately take over all of that sugar, and then the next source, once it eats all that sugar, the next source of sugar is your plant's roots, and it will attack those. So so you can do it, and it's really common. You just got to rinse off all of the water, or rinse off all the gel. But the problem that I find is that the gel, the roots are really brittle, and depending on the gel strength, you have to adjust your gel strength, because you want it to be pretty liquidy, so the roots, so it'll rinse off the roots easy. But if it's super liquidy gel, then the plants have a hard time standing up in it because it's not firm enough to hold them. Okay, Stutter. Yeah, so this is all, I don't know, I'm sure there's a company that pre-makes media, but learning to make your own media you should learn how to make your own media. Very worth your time and energy to make your own. I know there's a lab that will sell you the hormone, like the blend and the sugars and everything, and then you still at the end of the day need to make your own media. So yeah, no, my glove got torn, so we're not doing gloves. But if your hands are sterile, like we're using 70% isopropyl, then our hands are clean. So you don't need to use gloves. There's really no difference between taking non-sterile gloves from a container, and then this is gonna be the last one. So this is our last one because I have to go help my wife with some things after this, because that's how it goes. But yeah, no difference between using gloves you can sterilize your gloves beforehand, that's fine. But the second your gloves touch something that's not sterile, they're not sterile. So there's no difference between your skin and the gloves. I am, however, wearing a lab coat, which I always wear, and the lab coat stays in the lab. It never goes outside, and it gets washed frequently in hot water and bleach. And then I wear like a mask, just a regular hospital mask or whatever, because you don't want to breathe onto your cultures, right? It's the same reason doctors wear masks. So if they're doing surgery, they're not like breathing into people's fucking body. No, I mean the oils on your skin, especially I'm using 70% isopropyl alcohol, so there's pretty much no oils left on my skin after I've dissolved those oils in the alcohol. But no, they don't really affect anything. But I do almost always wear gloves. Like 99% of the time, I wear gloves just in case. But again, you still need to sterilize your gloves with isopropyl. Another fun fact about isopropyl: a lot of people have this misconception, and they think that 90% or 95 or 99% isopropyl alcohol is better than 70%. The higher number, right, would make sense that it would be stronger and would work better to sterilize stuff. And while that logic isn't like horrible, same reason you don't use pure bleach and you dilute the bleach is like, it's not necessarily about the potency of the alcohol, it's about the contact time on your hands. Because the more water you have, the longer it takes to evaporate. So that's a big piece. So 70% kills far more effectively than 90 or 99. Yeah. Ben makes another good point. Without a flow hood, this is nearly impossible. I tried to use a still air box, and I just had such a low success rate that it was just not worth it. Like, I had infinitely better success with a small box HEPA filter, and I just taped it to a box fan, and I made a really crude tiny amount of laminar flow that I could work in front of. And that was, you know, not great, but somewhat functional. If you're just like practicing and stuff like that, not a bad way to start. I know people have success with the still air box. You know, if you have like a super clean grow tent and, you know, you work super fast and the material are only sitting, you know, for a moment or two, and you turn all your vessels to one side because usually contaminants fall vertically, they don't fall side to side, so you can kind of sneak things in there. I haven't tried that, and I don't know. I think the first time I was trying that was when we first started doing TC in like 2015. And like I said, I just had such low success rate. It's so disheartening to spend, you know, hours and hours and hours and hours and then get maybe 10% success rate or less. So there's a ton of DIY hood designs online. I mean, I built this hood. This is a Husky 2x4 rack and a HEPA filter and a variable speed fan. So there's like a positive pressure chamber where the fan blows into, and then it goes through a carbon filter, and then it blows through the HEPA filter. And this whole setup probably cost me, I don't know, $300, $400, somewhere in there. And the HEPA filter is replaceable. And this thing works just as good. If I had access to, or, you know, all of a sudden got like 10 grand, I'd probably build, you know, or I'd not build, I'd probably just buy a nice HEPA filter. But the other problem is that a HEPA filter, like a commercial HEPA filter or a commercial flow hood, is really big, like really big, and there's no way I could fit it in my TC lab. The footprint in here is not particularly large by any means, and so I can't even get it through the door because they're too long. So this is what we got to work with, but it works, you know? It works. Okay, so this is the last one. We're finishing up. If anybody has any final questions, any comments, you know, any like sage wisdom, now is the time. Only two. Well, because I only have two left, I don't want to use a whole vessel for just two. So we'll do that. Stutter, send me an email and we can figure that out. That's going to be something similar to our contract tissue culture work. But that's like, you're the first person who's actually asked for that, which I'm kind of surprised no one else has. But there's by no means is it a guarantee. Unfortunately, I'd love to say that, but depends on how old the seeds are and how they were handled and all that good stuff. But yeah, if you email me, info@umamiseedcompany.com, or you go onto the website, click the contact link, and send us an email through, you know, the contact us form, that would be that'd be great, and we can get it going. We'll figure that out for you. So yeah, if you go Green MD, if you go onto the Umami Seed Co., like the main page or whatever for YouTube, I don't know what that's called, like my profile thing. There's a category called tissue culture, and that's where all of these videos are going to go on, as well as like the video that I'm editing right now, which is like how to make media. And, you know, I did like a transplanting video where we took a bunch of rooted plants and transplanted them that went from, you know, from TC to, you know, up to the greenhouse. So all those videos are going to be on in that TC thing. And then we do have a video. If you go on my Twitter, X, whatever the hell that website's called nowadays, if you scroll down like a couple posts, there's another live that we did there. I tried to do lives on both that one and here. For some reason, X had a lot. Like we had like 300 or 400 people watching on the live stream on X, which I don't know how many of those were bots because the YouTube hasn't really cracked off like that one has. But I don't know. Hopefully, we'll do them both. And then yeah, Fletcher. Yeah, well we'll be doing TC pretty frequently here, so we'll try to do more of it. But yeah, so as we're finishing up, let's see if I have anything cool to share, cool to show. Oh well, here. So I don't know how many people are here from the last video, but if anyone is, we'll just do a quick update on the cultures that we did. Yes, we have a booth at MJ BizCon this year. So we're in the vault, which is the seed area, and that's going to be super fun. We're dropping some new exclusive collabs with Sherbinsky's new company, Voice of the Plant, and we've got a bunch of seeds, and we'll be talking TC, and I'm probably going to bring out a bunch of TC stuff, and I won't do like a demo because the lab isn't mobile, but we'll be there. We'll have seeds. We'll be chopping it up, be in the smoking section, burn one down. So yeah, no, this is alien. This is totally doable for home growers, like 150%. They first theorized TC in like 1890 something, and then the first people to do it was like in the early 2000 or the early 1900s. So nowadays with the internet, like there's no reason why you can't do exactly this, with a pretty basic budget setup. It's a little bit more involved than like cloning or growing, but it's definitely doable. Shawnee, you just walked into we're recapping the plants that we put in vitro 2 weeks ago, I think. So there's our Zonuts, looking real good. And then Lemondary number 5, looking pretty solid. Just make sure there we go. Try to get the angle correctly, because the angle that I'm looking at and the angle on the screen are different. Zonuts. Yeah, Plant Cell does sell that little tiny mini China hood. So doable. You're only doing a few, for sure. Very limiting on space. Yeah, Zona. We did a bunch of Zonuts. There's the Zoda, the little Zodas that we did. Try not to drop these because they're really delicate. Some more Zoda. Strawberry snacks. Yeah, everything is looking pretty good. Some other snacks. So, I mean, if you were here last week, you remember how tiny these were. Like, really, really small. And now they're still small, but they're like 5 times as big as they were last week. So there's that. Yeah, so TC does make it easier to send genetics long distance. And also, if you're sending genetics into like a regulated environment, especially anywhere internationally, they will almost certainly require things to be in vitro and have phytosanitary certificate, or at least they need to have like potentially gone through vitro and be phytosanitary certified for import or export. So this is a good way to do it, especially if they're not getting jumbled around. Because if you do drop this container, it's like Jello, so it'll break and like jumble around. So yeah, turtle. Yeah, so the plant doesn't necessarily need roots. In this case, the plant is absorbing the nutrients directly from the base of the stem. Like the inside, like the part where the surface touches the gel is where it's absorbing the nutrients. So these plants eat the gel. And then in the event that they do make roots, which is pretty common, I try and avoid it, at least, in certain cases. Sometimes it's intentional. This was not intentional. There's no rooting hormones in this gel, but the plants, do their own, have their own hormones, and so sometimes they're like, "Fuck a root," and they root, and then the plants get really big and smash themselves up against the roof, and so something like this needs to get chopped up and transplanted. So we will take something like this and we'll make several of these. Maybe like this container will probably turn into 5 or 6 of these smaller containers. And so then this will be, right now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 20. There's like probably 25 like plants that will go, like 25 of things that'll be a lot. They'll probably start out like yay big, right? And then in 2 or 3 weeks, they'll be about yay big. And then these are pretty much ready, well, at least the 3 taller ones are ready to go get rooted out. Yeah, some are far more aggressive with throwing roots in vitro than others, and they just want to root. There's nothing you can do about it. Let's see. Yeah. Okay. Cool. So that's it. That's it for now. So thank you everyone for tuning in to episode 2. I'm gonna end up doing a video, like a quicker video of what this process entails, so you don't have to watch an hour plus of a live. But I do appreciate everyone who came in, stuck around, asked questions. We're going to try to do a live stream once a week, alternating between lab, TC, flow stuff, and garden, kind of general garden practices. Last week we did my how to clone video. The week before that we did a sterile cloning and cleaning, doing the tissue culture sterilization protocol on like live plants. So if you bring plants into your garden, there's a surefire way to kill any pests or pathogens, or external, I should clarify. But let's say you got a friend who's, got a really good cut of some OG or whatever, some new lemon cherry, July, or whatever you want, but that guy is just a dirty grower and he's got hella spider mites all over everything, and you don't want to bring those in your garden, but you want that cut because it's really good. So what do you do? Washing it is the way to do it. We wash it in chlorine and we kill off all those spider mites. We kill the eggs, and then you still want to watch them, just in case. Like some of these insects are pretty potent. They stay around. But if you watch the video, you'll see the spider mites. I did a live demo, like timed, while you could see it, and the spider mite was dead within a minute, 2 minutes. I haven't seen anything survive the chlorine, 5,000 ppm at 5 minutes. Like literally never seen anything survive. Not thrips, not spider mites, not aphids, not, broad mites or russet mites, like literally nothing. So there's a bunch of different ways to do some of those things. So we'll do a lot more videos. We'll do more lives. Anybody has another video idea or something they want to see or something I didn't do and that they're, just throw it in the comments. And then, as per everyone else on YouTube, like, comment, and subscribe. Just get it. Like, follow the thing. We're trying to do cool stuff. So, yeah, once again, thank you, everybody, and enjoy the rest of your week.